What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause volatility in the stock price, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off with data, macro data, don't really have that much on Monday. A lot of Fed speakers, so that could cause some volatility. Tuesday, we have ADP employment. So last week, that obviously didn't come in that great. So it came in at negative 11,000. And I think in general, what the market does truly want is it wants negative labor data to justify a rate cut for December. But that came in rather horrific. So a lot of the market will be really watching that fairly close. And then aside from that, we do have on Wednesday the FOMC minutes. So last time they were issued, it actually did hype up the market because after reading it, it signaled that a lot of members were actually in favor of multiple cuts for 2025. So that I think is going to be what the market is hopefully going to see this time around. So that's going to be coming out on Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Then aside from that, Thursday, we have existing home sales, so that could kind of impact some sectors. And I think no matter what, a lot of these data points, people are going to kind of spin it to what does that mean for consumers. So that's, again, going to be something to pay attention to. Consumers is a looming risk right now. And then aside from that, Friday, we have a lot of Fed speakers, a lot of flash data. So that's coming out at 9:45. And then capping it all off at 10 a.m., we have the Michigan consumer sentiment. The forecast for that right now is 50.3. So a lot of things that could really move the market, but it is primarily going to be either Wednesday or Thursday. Those are going to be the big market mover days because we have the FOMC minutes and then companies unveiling their earnings. We have NVIDIA after hours Wednesday, and I don't need to explain to you guys how crazy that is going to be for the market, and tech AI plays. Aside from that though, we also have on Thursday Walmart. This one might be a little bit more of an unpopular kind of opinion, but I do feel that Walmart could impact the broader market because last two earnings, when they've given their guidance and they kind of signal some cracking coming from consumers, like the market listens. So I think in general, that one's going to be another one to really pay attention to, or hopefully best case scenario, we have Walmart say, hey, you know what? Tariffs haven't been as impactful as what we thought, and consumers are still out there spending the money and doing stuff. I think that would be best case scenario, really pushing things higher. So that is some of the days to really pay attention to, in my opinion. Specific to SoFi, there isn't anything planned, no fireside chats, no interviews, nothing really along those lines. Only thing that really came out over the weekend that I wanted to share with you was posted by SoFi Insider, and it just signals the monthly visits. And there's often a pretty good correlation between this and member growth. And for those of you that listened to the last earnings, Anthony mentioned that technically, like roughly, I think they gave an estimate of the overall members that they anticipate by the end of Q4. So that worked out to be, I think it was 960,000. That's the member growth that they're anticipating in Q4. So based on this, these are pretty phenomenal numbers. So monthly visits, 4.9 million, that is up 21%. So pretty crazy stuff. But aside from that, looking at shorts, 9.25% of the free float's being shorted. So that's what we're going into this upcoming week with. Works out to be 109 million shares overall being shorted. Friday, shorts did increase 772,000, which was rather abnormal, but I think they are starting to piggyback off of the broader market's fear. DTC sitting at 1.51 days does signal that shorts are rather overextended. Cost to borrow minimum, as per usual, is negative. So still some signs of manipulation overall, but looking at this from the bull standpoint for the options, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that $29.50 to $30 range. So there's a good sense of optimism that SoFi will recover. So that's always positive. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub kind of $23.50 to $24. So flip side, there's a lot of big money feeling that there is going to be a significant push lower. And I think in general, this options data is a good representation of what the market is truly feeling, because you see a lot of posts online saying, hey, you know what? Doomsday is coming. Then you also have a lot of people saying, hey, you know what? Buy the dip. And I feel like Thursday, Friday, for those of you, again, that like to follow my channel, I like to dive deep into where volume comes from because it kind of gives some insight of what big money feels. And so ultimately, Thursday, Friday, it did get dragged down a little bit with algorithmic trading, but at the same time, you also did have institutions selling. So it was a very interesting type of scenario, because in the past, when SoFi and much of the greater market sells off, a lot of that is artificial, being done through algos. But I don't know if institutions were starting to sell on Thursday and Friday because of the tax season, tax losses, or maybe just profit taking. I don't know who would really be selling SoFi at a loss unless they bought like peak kind of thing. But nonetheless, it was definitely a very interesting last couple of days. So I think overall, 23.50 to 24 from the bears is rather unique and kind of bold if you kind of think about it, because based on this, they're anticipating like a full technical breakdown and mass fear in the market. But with it at 27.82, it is in between this S1 and this S2. So 27.21 and then 25.83 is going to be the next strong support levels. 28.05, 29.43, and then 30.81 is going to be the next strong target / resistance points. And like I said, I think maybe at the same time, a lot of the bearish options are kind of assuming maybe Nvidia and Walmart could potentially miss on their earnings, because that's also been something that the market's been somewhat punishing, is a lot of high multiple stocks such as Palantir and Robinhood, even though they both hit their key metrics and gave relatively good future guidance, market still took them down. So that might potentially happen this time around. The market's been rather picky lately, but nonetheless, looking into this upcoming week, the technicals, I think Monday is going to be a very important day, because typically you need 2 consecutive days to really signal a trend. So Friday, because of the crazy price action, it did close below the 50-day moving average. So if it does close below the 50-day moving average come Monday, then most likely you can kind of anticipate further consolidation. Luckily enough, every single time SoFi's closed below or at the 50-day moving average, it does have a nice V-shaped recovery. So I think SoFi's been holding up very well, especially comparing to a lot of other growth stocks. We did have the dip that occurred on November the 6th as well as the 7th, and that was a little bit more of a scary time. But I think overall, one thing as well, all these dips tend to occur Thursday and Friday, and conveniently we have Nvidia, Walmart, FOMC, so that's going to really impact Thursday and Friday. So maybe this upcoming week we have more sell-offs. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. But on a technical standpoint, Monday is going to be very important. Aside from that though, on the stochastic RSI, you see it somewhat neutral, so it's not overbought nor oversold. So a good piece of news that does come out. You could see a nice push higher, but I don't think that there's anything really planned from SoFi. Like I said, no fireside chats, nothing really crazy. They already announced crypto, so I think they just need to really implement that across the board. But I think it's just, it is what it is. And plus, I don't think there's any real trade deals coming out associated to Trump. And so given the speculative things that I've seen come out recently about him, potentially, arguably true or not, it doesn't matter. But most likely, I think he's just going to stay kind of silent for that. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Where do you see things going? Do you think that we're going to be seeing kind of new highs, or are we going to be in a consolidation week? And so I bought more on Friday, not directly common stock, but I did sell puts. So I did sell a $28 put. And so I really recommend a lot of individuals to really consider that. So if you're going to be buying stock, and given SoFi's volatility, you can make some pretty good premiums by doing that. But again, you guys do whatever floats your boat. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.